Well, hello everyone. You here right here as I talk about with moving though, and I'm sure that most of us, if it's going to be, anything from our early childhood or like growing up life or anything like that, and then thinking about, I'm sure most of us have moved at some point. If it's going to be a relocation for like maybe a new job or school or anything like that, or maybe a transfer of any kind, for like any type of relocation. But you see right here is I would have put together right here like a little if we want to call this like a little counting type measurement, like a diagram of like a box right here, and like this could be like I don't know, we probably say like a cube type shape right here, and there's some measurements. And I'm sure that whenever we're moving to where that yeah, that really who has all the time really to do all the math, such as set the guides to where that yeah, that which one which box is going in storage, which one's coming with us, which one's going to be packed up for later. So you're like thinking about, I'm like, really, who has time really to set that the guides to her? Okay, about a third of a fourth of an inch or something like that. So you're like Warren to her. I'm like, you have these guides right here, and then thinking about, okay, let's see here. Which box is going into the attic or some kind. But anyway, but you see right here is that with like the moving situation is that anybody who's going to be moving to where that necessarily thinking about, I'm like, yeah, when we do move, that we may have those stories to where that yeah, we're going to miss this place, yeah, that seems like that we left something behind. And a lot of time, it seems like almost every time that we may all think that way to whenever we are moving somewhere, that we seem to where that we're leaving something behind. And one of those could be, it's like, yeah, that we can't necessarily take take that the backyard view with us or anything like that, or if it's going to be some things that maybe you were not able to get packed up, and maybe neighbors that you may used to know that it's like saying farewell, goodbye to them, stuff like that. But other than that, like anybody who has had experience like a moving story to where that yeah, that whenever you move is thinking about necessarily to where that really that that it seems to be like a top a job to it, like other than like for spring cleaning, to where that you would get a box prepared, and the box would be measured at about these are like the measurements I would came up with. But let's just say that these boxes are like between big and small right here, and you have right here's an example right here of like a yeah, and I used a little bit few tools just to draw this, but I'm like, yeah, just to show more details, especially. And I think about, yeah, I don't know, I only have 10 minutes or so to talk about all this stuff here, but the basics is about what I want to mention about is that the feeling about whenever we move somewhere, and thinking that it seems like to where that we miss something, to where whenever we're yeah, we're moving maybe out of state or somewhere, and you're like Warren, to where that we got all the belongings, like the furniture, and as well as the books and supplies and computers and stuff like that, and anything that we're trying to move. And you're like Warren, to where there are some things, of course, that may not be able to fit in the box, such as if it's going to be any gardening equipment, lawnmowers, or if it's going to be maybe entertainment centers or furnitures, any type of furniture such as a kitchen table set. And you're like Warren, to where you try putting a microwave or something like that in a box. But a number of boxes are more likely that are used just to be able to transfer stuff. If it's going to be clothes, shoes, and if it's going to be maybe pictures or something like that. And you're like Warren, to where that I could probably say that on average, to where I'm sure that people probably say that they've used about maybe 41 boxes altogether. These are like measurements right here, to where that really who has time to do the measurement for like about for just like wrapping a present, to where you would actually build a box. And I'm sure that anybody say, yeah, well, you're better off getting one of those pre-made boxes to where you just fold it and then tape it all together and it's ready to go, other than having to go through the material by scratch to where that you got to do the measurements. But let's just say that by the time you get things packed up and you're like worrying to where that really, I'm like, anybody probably say, are you really going to miss the place? So, you're going to miss the neighborhood, the location. And I'm sure they probably say that during a time that somebody may have been living there or located there at a certain time of the point will probably say that, yeah, a few things that they are going to miss about the place, especially. So the ways of how to handle that. And more likely that it seems like the only way that I really know about maybe help anybody, it's like make them feel better. It's like just to kind of write about it, their experience and thinking about that. That the things that they can remember, music that they used to listen to, or something like that. That after you move, it just seems like to where that the pieces of the puzzle just they just get separated. They all just come apart and then they start coming back together. As soon as you get everything most of oriented arranged to where you go to the new location, and then like just to get introduced to a new town or business or something like that. But I'm sure that most of us have experienced here about what's like to move, and we can more likely say is that that really that between moving and then maybe do another type of spring cleaning, and as well as like that if it's going to be any other sources of jobs that chores, more likely to where I'm like that moving is, I'm sure it's a big job, because on your hand too that we're talking about packing up boxes and that taking if it's going to be vacuum cleaners or anything like that, any of our belongings, to have them pack them up and ship and and then transporting them on a truck, and then you'll go into a new location. And I'm sure anybody probably say, yeah, really. I'm like, really, who looks forward to moving? And like, is it really because you missed the place real dearly, or if it's over the fact about, that you don't want to have to deal with all this, getting the truck and moving everything all inside the transporter van or something like that. But on the other hand, I'm like, that I'm sure, I say that, just like what you call is like a first day between last day, maybe on a job or something like that, and you're like wanting to where, really, am I missing something? Yeah, a hug or a kiss. But on the other hand, that it seems like to where anywhere we go, that more likely to where that one of those things that we could be missing. But then on the other hand too, we can also think about that while we're moving, the things that are coming with us. And one of those could be like maybe a purse or a wallet. And we're like worrying to where that if there's like any type of a electronic wallet, I guess if you want to call it maybe electronic drivers, like a sort of certification, such as if we would be going to the airport and maybe leaving out of state somewhere and find out that I guess we can't really come up with that reason excuse to where well, I left it at home. I can the resume, my resume, it's in the closet at home actually. So well, I'm thinking about a way to, like, whenever we move, and then if we're going to be going to a job interview, they'll likely say is to where that something that you can carry with you at all times, and if it's going to be like a resume, and I'm sure most resumes contain so much information that more likely could not be fit. You cannot fit into a purse or a wallet, but then I'm sure that they're like something electronically that could be used, but other than that, I'm sure most of us who have experienced moving before will probably say that it's the friends that you knew over there at the location, as well as maybe the rooms that you enjoyed, and then as well as the places that you can remember that you're going to miss, stuff like that. But just thinking about it, I'm like, really, is moving really a good feeling to where that yep, you're moving on? But other than that, like thinking about, I'm like, that that more likely, if something's changing or if it's going to remain the same, or new good things to look forward to, especially. But talk about here is talk about, say, with the moving, like I explained about that earlier, but things to remember, especially about moving, as to where yep, something to look forward to as well. And then on your hand, something to get prepare for as well, so for how to handle. It's like for what needs to be done. Other than that, like talk about with moving.